Dogbob here from Wiki Gaming. I'm live. We're going to be doing the Blast Premier Group Stage C rundown. So if you didn't know, I've been covering the past 2 weeks. This is now week 3 of the Blast Premier League, with some of the most notable teams in Counter Strike right now competing in their tournament, in their league. Some less notable, i.e. Complexity. You could check that out in the Group Stage B video. But also another team this weekend that not many people knew about that really showed up and upset a bunch of teams. Just like last week, just like Complexity did last week. We had OG stepping into the ring this week. You know, the underdog, the dark horse, spanking everybody. Almost spanking everybody. So I'll do it in a similar format to the last one. I'm going to do my pre-rankings. Initially, I had my hopes set high for 100 Thieves. I thought 100 Thieves was going to win the whole thing. I thought they were going to come in first place. I genuinely thought Evil Geniuses was going to come in second place. I think it was going to come down to 100 Thieves and EG in the final, and they would get placed for the ShowDown. And then I thought G2 was going to come in third with OG coming in last. Granted, when I set the tweet, I think it was like Thursday of last week, I noted that I just don't know enough about the OG roster. I know Alexi B is like a fucking cerebral IGL in Counter-Strike right now, and he's super young, and he's working with some relatively young, not in the limelight talent like Mantu and Valde, but I didn't know enough about the team, so I didn't want to rank them super high. Guess what? My pre-rankings were thrown right out the fucking window because something that happened in every single group stage so far happened again this week, or this past week rather. 100 Thieves was the favor. Like, it was either 100 Thieves or EG being the favor. I picked 100 Thieves just because they were performing pretty well towards the end of the year last year. EG kind of fell off a little bit. G2 looked really bad at the end of last year. They lost to Mouse Sports in the Bit Summit final. And Mouse Sports had a stand-in with NATO Savix, and they had their coach playing because Woxic wasn't available for the tournament, and Carrigan had to go get his visa fixed for whatever the next tournament was following that. So G2 lost to a Mouse Sports team with 3 out of the 5 main roster. They lost to Mouse Sports with a stand-in and their fucking coach in the finals. So they didn't look great, but come Thursday, when the pre-recording of everything, they interviewed like one person on each team, and Nexa from G2, their IGL, was saying that they switched up their formula. They're going to give Kenny S more freedom to roam about the map, do what he needs to do, make plays where he needs to make plays. And it genuinely showed how much they improved since coming from last year into this year. Coming from losing to a fucking team of 3, a stand-in, and their coach, G2 performed at a fucking incredible level this year. But that being said, similar to Group Stage A and B, we had a top caliber team that a lot of people expected to win, just not show up at all. So 100 Thieves, ring rust. Just like Astralis, who's the other team? Liquid. Just like Astralis and Liquid, even though I'm pretty sure Liquid still made it to the finals. Yeah, they did. But like Liquid showed up and they didn't play spectacularly. Like they got 2-0'd by FaZe in a dominant fashion. They were the favorite team in this bracket. Week 2, we have fucking Astralis. Previously the number 1 team in the world. Currently the number 2 team in the world. I think in the ESL standings, with Mouse Sports being number 1. But they won one fucking map and got eliminated. They got 2-0'd by Complexity, a relative no-name team at the time. And then got 2-1 by Navi. And that brings us on to week 3. 100 Thieves didn't even win a map. They got 2-0'd by G2. G2 came out firing this weekend, and they looked incredible while doing it. Kenny, they lost one map. In the entire weekend, they lost one map. They went 6-1. 100 Thieves went 0-4. Evil Geniuses showed some potential. Like, they looked like they were coming back into their form. On both of their matchups against OG were just tough, because both times they played OG, it was like they swapped maps, and then OG would they would dominate one map, OG would dominate the next map, and then OG would take them to overtime in the fucking third and final map, and they just couldn't hold it together. They couldn't keep it together. But anyway, so the 100 Thieves G2 matchup, G2 spanked them. Like Nexa was saying, they let Kenny play his style of Counter-Strike. And to create opening, they wanted him to create openings. They wanted him to make big plays. He had to he clutched when he had to. And on top of that, Hunter had like the highest. I think Hunter had the highest ADR out of everybody in this group stage, and I think he was like number 3 overall in all of Blast. Oh, no, he was number 4. It was Nico, Rain, Naf, maybe Nico, Rain, Naf, Hunter. I think that's how it went for average ADR or ADR throughout the entire Blast premiere. So that just tells you Hunter was playing out of his fucking mind. Nico's cousin, Hunter, that fucking meme. He was playing out of his mind. Kenny was playing very well. Amanek, he's just that Swiss Army knife of the team. He's reliable for just about anything. He's a great anchor on CT side. You give him an op on B site on Dust 2, holding CT. He's there to make plays. And Nexa, their IGL, played out of his fucking mind. And a lot of the commentators are saying that Nexa and Alexi B, they're like the next generation of incredible IGLs to come into Counter-Strike. Like currently we have Glaive, we have Carrigan, but Alexi B and Nexa, they're so new to these rosters. Like Nexa and Hunter just joined G2. They just joined Jax, Amanek, and Kenny S to fill out this squad. And the squad they're dangerous. Like when they're performing, they're dangerous. And to that note, they remind me a lot of Navi. So I've said it so many fucking times, when Navi is performing at a high caliber, they're the most dangerous team in Counter-Strike. G2 played, in my opinion, maybe not as well as Navi did in week 2, but they played pretty fucking close to it. Like, they came out the gates, and they were just firing on all fucking cylinders. 100 Thieves, big fucking dud. I don't even want to talk about them. I don't want to talk about them because they fall into the same category as Astralis. They just didn't show up. They probably... I don't know when the last time they played a LAN or like an actual tournament, but however many days it's been since that, I think Astralis was like 60. They didn't show up. They didn't have the right practice, and it showed. They got smoked. So I don't even want to talk about 100 Thieves. They fall into the same category as Astralis for this. It could have just been a dud. Could have been a fluke. It's early in the year, so we can expect to see more from them. They're a very talented team. They're a top 10 team, and but they didn't perform like it this weekend. I'll talk a little bit more about G2 afterwards, but they played out of their fucking minds. This was the matchup, the dual matchup here that happened twice this weekend. I mean, so did G2 and OG, but this is worth highlighting because Evil Geniuses is a storied, like a historic team in Counter-Strike. They were NRG previously. They rebranded last year, and then after the rebrand, they looked unstoppable. Like, they have Breezy. Breezy's a top 5? I think he might be number 6 actually. HLTV ranked player for 2019. He's the most consistent player on that team. Like, when he's performing, they should be winning. It's almost like the Zywoo factor on Vitality. When Zywoo's performing, they should be winning. You know, so when Breezy is dropping fucking 30 kills in a single fucking match, there's no reason why EG shouldn't win. That being said, Tarek was making a bunch of great plays. Cirque looked shaky to start. Overall, I think EG looked shaky on day one, but day two, when they spanked 100 Thieves, they looked a lot better. They looked like they were more in form. And then day three against OG, it was a little bit in between. Like they it looks like they warmed up from day one and two, but they weren't playing at the highest peak that they have. And it's interesting. It's like worth noting that I think they interviewed Ethan and Breezy on the Thursday beforehand, and they were talking about they don't want to make any adjustments to their roster. They think that they have a solid roster, which I agree with. I 100% agree. I think they have a good, well-rounded roster. They want to stick to it, and they want to just, nail down the basics and the fundamentals and get their team and their macro play in a better place so they shouldn't ever lose to teams like OG. Relative no-names, outside of Alexi B, maybe outside of Valde. Mantu, who I'll talk about, performed very well. But yeah, I mean, EG didn't do much on day one. They looked better on day two, and then they kind of fell off a little bit on day three. They performed well, but OG just outclassed them, especially when it came down to like clutch scenarios and like taking shit to overtime, winning in overtime. OG was just they had like the complexity drive from week two, where it was we have to make a point. Let's make a point this week to put our names out there and put our names on the map. And let's beat some of these fucking teams. Like, let's beat some of these best teams. They only went up against Evil Geniuses and G2. They didn't have a chance to spank 100 Thieves, but, that's probably for the best. The way 100 Thieves was playing, I don't think they would have beat OG anyway. OG just looked like they were playing, like, good, grindy Counter-Strike. Good, grindy Counter-Strike. So, for the OG roster, let's pull it up, actually. OG Esports. So they have MBK, historic figure in Counter-Strike. He's kind of like the Amanek. He's kind of like their Swiss Army knife. I'm pretty sure he had like the most unique kills with guns. So the guy can do literally everything, which is, fucking crazy. Valde and Issa. Issa is like their entry fragger. He's their hype man. He's like the Stewie 2K of this team. Valde is like the superstar rifler of this team. He reminds me a lot of, I don't want to say Oboe because Oboe is like, he's super young and he's like really green. But Valde is like mechanically similar to people like Config and Oboe, where they have incredible rifle potential. They're good to make some big brain plays. They're good for clutches. He should ideally be their top frag. And Alexi B is their fucking huge brain IGL, the IGL of the future, the IGL of the next generation, a lot of people are saying, along with Nexa. And then Mantu, highest rank on this team overall going into it. And he's their opper. And he played I think he was probably the most consistent player on this team. Valde performed at peaks. NBK was consistent. Issa and Alexi B were less consistent. I think it was the matchup against... I don't remember. Was it the matchup? I think it was the first matchup against G2. I think Alexi B had like 12 kills over 2 maps, which is fucking abysmal. You can't have that. You can't have that and expect to win. That's like the Guardian of Navi from last year. You can't have 12 kills over 2 maps and expect you to win a best of 3. That being said, he still played well in the other 3 major matchups. Yeah, the other 3 major matchups. But Mantu, specifically, he basically, I don't want to say he carried them, but he was so consistent in performing well that they could rely on him to make it to this final. So good on him. He's young. He's got a lot of talent. He has a lot of potential to be a top-tier opera. I don't want to put him into the category of ZywOo Simple Device, and then my, ZywOo Simple Device, they're 1A, okay? My 1B is Woxic and who's the fucking complexity opera? Why can't I think of this right now? Woxic and Poison. Poison, that's what I'm thinking of. So 1A, in my opinion, is Simple ZywOo Device. In that order for best operas in the world. My 1B, slightly below them, they're new to the scene, relatively new to the scene. It's Woxic and Poison. Woxic of Mouse Sports and Poison of Complexity. I think they have immense potential to be some of the best players in Counter-Strike and easily some of the best operas in Counter-Strike. Mantu, I think he would be maybe 1C or just 2A. I think he would be right below them. But that being said, he's 22 fucking years old and he has a shit ton of potential. And he's finally playing. What was his team before this? No, there were essentially no teams. Like, what is alternate attacks? I don't know. I don't know those teams. But he came from 2 no-name teams. He's playing in a top 20 right now. What are they? 18? I think they're 18. 17. They're in a top 20 team, number 17 right now. Coming from nowhere. What about Issa? Let's see this. Let's see, where did these players come from? Alexi B came from Ents. They're no good anymore. They needed him. They genuinely needed him. Where did Issa come from? Hellraisers. They were okay. He was there for 2 years. They were an alright team. Fell off recently, but they also, again, lost players like Issa. Where was Valde before this? North. Heroic. These are all like tier 2 teams. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Brad? So what it's almost like OG. How I see it is OG. I don't know for sure either, but I feel like OG took Alexi B and then cherry picked some of the most talented people from the tier 2, tier 3 Counter-Strike teams. These are just these 3 came from, I don't want to say no-name teams again, but tier 2 and tier 3 teams to build around him. MBK, I mean, again, he's been through the fucking ring. He's been through the ringer. He's played on every fucking team. I'm pretty sure he's got championships. Yeah. So, again, he's your Swiss Army knife. He's the reliable one. But the rest of the team was built around the fucking mental genius of Alexi B. So they did what Complexity did this week, where they came in, they were the dark horse of the fucking competition. Everybody thinks 100 Thieves is going to win. Maybe Evil Geniuses will show up and they'll just outperform everybody. Not the case. Not the case at all. Same as the last fucking 2 weeks. OG upset everybody except for G2. G2 was playing like Navi last week and they were playing out of their fucking minds. So props to G2. They performed at a incredibly high level, and it, like, seeing G2 and Navi perform at the levels that they performed at Blast Premier makes me super excited for professional Counter-Strike in 2020. So overall, just like the last 2 fucking weeks, like, it's so hard to make predictions beforehand what to expect from these, especially so early in the year, because so many of these teams took so much time off. I don't know. I was wrong. What the fuck are you going to do? But I'm glad that I was wrong, because I'm glad I got to see teams like Complexity and OG come in and just like assert themselves, say, hey, we are fucking here. Put some fucking respect on my name. We're going to be in the top 10 by the end of the year. And can we go to, like, what are the top 10 teams? Ranking: Astralis, Mouse Sports, Liquid, Fnatic. Okay. So when you're looking at complexity and OG, where's OG? OG is 17, right? Complexity is where? 23. Both teams significantly better than all of these guys. Both teams better than Renegades, Furia, Cloud9, Godsent, VP, MIBR, Heroic, possibly Nip. Forza and Mad Lions have been playing very well recently. They're better than ENCE. All right. Here's my newest prediction. We're going to see if Complexity can keep it up. I feel like a lot of people are saying they might end up like Furia and they'll get quote unquote figured out. Like their game style and their gameplay will get figured out. If that's not the case, and they can adapt to the changing landscape of Counter-Strike, and they can adjust their plays and their play style to, better fit the current, their current competition, which is, again, the best in the world right now. I genuinely think Complexity bumps themselves all the way up to the top 15, and we won't see teams like Heroic, Nip, again, still has potential, but I think Nip falls out of the top 15. Forza and Mad Lions, they have potential to even crack top 10, but, they're iffy because they're relatively new. ENCE, I think, inevitably drops down. And I don't know. Like the top 10, these are the most competitive teams at Counter-Strike, so I don't know. But I think there's a good chance that teams like Complexity and OG both crack top 15 and then have legitimate potential to be top 10. Do I think they'll be top 5? No. And the reason is there's like subcategories of the top teams in Counter-Strike. In my genuine opinion, I think Astralis and Mouse Sports are the two best teams in the world. And I think there's reasons behind it. Like, Astralis wins tournaments. That's it. They win championships. They're the most consistent team in Counter-Strike. They'll occasionally have one-off tournaments where they don't show up or they get bested by a team that's playing out of their fucking mind, like Mouse Sports. But in my opinion, I think Mouse Sports is more talented overall. I think they have a better lineup. I genuinely think Kerrigan's a better overall IGL than Glaive. Even though Glaive is, it's like 1A, 1B in that scenario. But I think their team is more well-rounded. So like Astralis, Mouse Sports, I think Fnatic is absolutely going to continue to be a top 5 team. Liquid, if they can't turn a bunch of shit around, has potential to not be a top 5 team anymore. I think Fnatic is probably better. I think Fnatic's better than them. EG, not so much. Navi, if they perform like they did in week 2, top 5 team easily. Vitality, they don't have it around them. They have Zywoo, they have Alex if he can perform, and they have RPK, and that's kind of it. So I don't know about Vitality. They're tough. G2, same deal as Navi. If they perform at their highest, easily a top 5 team. They can beat anybody in the world. FaZe will be. So this is actually how I expect this to go. I think the only top 5 team right now, or 2 top 5 teams right now that have to worry about, getting bumped down, maybe be Liquid and EG. And I think FaZe, the way they played in week 1, that's a top tier team. So FaZe has potential to be top 5. 100 Thieves needs to really get their shit together. And, they're one of my favorite teams to watch. I was rooting for them when they were Renegades. we got Dom to actually watch professional Counter-Strike for the first time ever, I think, and he was cheering for Renegades. They were the big underdog. I think when we were watching them, they were in Australia at the time. So home turf. But yeah. So just to boil everything down, 100 Thieves didn't show up this week. G2 played out of their minds. They played at a Navi level from last week. EG showed potential, didn't quite hit their peak potential, and they played inconsistently. That being said, I still think they're a very good team, and I think that they're going to perform well in ESL, which I'm going to get to after this. And then OG, they did the complexity from last week. They pulled it out of Complexity's fucking playbook. They showed up, the dark horse. They upset everybody and similar to Complexity, they only came in second place. They didn't win the whole thing. They lost to a more talented team in G2, as Complexity lost to a more talented team in Navi. That being said, both Complexity and OG, very interesting to watch. Make sure you keep an eye out for them. We can conclude. No, actually, let's do this. Let's take a look at the teams that have qualified for the spring final in Moscow. So from week 1, we have Liquid and we have FaZe. This is based off their ranking. Okay. So week 1, we have Liquid and FaZe. Liquid didn't perform all that well week 1. FaZe destroyed everybody. So, it makes sense that they're here. I don't think Liquid deserved. I don't want to say deserved. But, what was their competition? Okay, never mind. I take that back. Out of all the teams in this lineup, FaZe and Liquid were the teams that deserve to go to the finals. MIBR, again, I don't think they're a great team. NIP also has a bunch of potential, but they need to get their core macro down and their in-game fundamentals down before they can compete with everybody else, in my opinion. Navi and Complexity from week 2. I'm going to continue to say it. If Navi is performing at their peak, they're the most dangerous team in Counter-Strike. That simple. Right, that simple. Fuck. No pun intended there, but if Simple and Electronic are playing at their peaks, no team in Counter-Strike should ever lose to them. Complexity, relative unknown. They are these two teams, OG and Complexity, are the variable thrown into the equation that nobody expected. They're like that weird fucking catalyst that just shook up the entire professional Counter-Strike scene. So I am super interested in seeing where these two teams go. G2, same thing as Navi. If they're performing at their peak, dangerous. Dangerous team. These two teams could beat anybody in the world. So I think we can wrap it up. These last two spots come down to the ShowDown final. So the top two teams from the ShowDown make it into the final. This final with these teams. So as of right now, it is in the ShowDown. NIP and MIBR got bumped into the ShowDown. Vitality and Astralis got bumped into the ShowDown, and 100 Thieves and OG got bumped into the ShowDown. And how I believe it works, I think they bring in maybe two other teams, not partnered but invited teams to compete in the ShowDown. And the top 2 performing teams in the ShowDown get placed alongside these other 6 in the finals. So all of the teams that got knocked out have a second chance, and then the other invited teams, however many there may be, I don't know off the top of my head, also have a chance of making it to the finals. Yeah, I genuinely don't think there's any more to discuss right now about this. I'll pick it back up when we get the Moscow finals going, or the ShowDown rather. when we get to the showdown, I'll do more coverage on that. So I'm Dr. Bob of Wicked Good Gaming. You can check out all of our written content at wickedgoodgaming.com. I try to get weekly Counter-Strike coverage up. Recently, it's been Blast Premiere, so that's up there. You could check out the other videos that I did from Blast Premiere. This recording is going to be on our YouTube because I'm doing this live from twitch.tv/wickedgoodgaming. The YouTube, I'm sure if you're watching it now, it's youtube.com/wickedgoodgaming. There's a bunch of other Counter-Strike content I have up there. I'll try to get this up relatively quickly with an article alongside it. You can check out all of our social medias at Wicked Good Gaming, except for Twitter. It's at Wicked Good Games. You could check out my personal Twitter at WGGBert. I live tweet a bunch of fucking professional Counter-Strike events. I watch Counter-Strike every single day, which is why I'm the CSGO wannabe analyst, especially of our company. I'm basically the only one who consistently watches it. Oh, and you can also check out our podcast, Not Another Gaming Podcast. It is on all podcast platforms, anywhere you can imagine. We record it live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, and I'll catch you for some more coverage whenever the showdown occurs. I actually don't know when it is. I think the final is in June, so it's got to be anywhere between now and fucking June. So, we'll see. All right. I'll catch you guys for the next one.